Coach, not only this year's Air Force team, but the Air Force teams that you've faced as a defensive coordinator in the last 4 years at the Naval Academy, what's really impressed you the most about them?
Well, since I've been here, they've been really, really good. I think they've won close to 10 games every year since I got here in 19. I think they're extremely well coached. I think their personnel is really good. They always have a few really good players, and they always seem to replace them with a few really good players, every year. And this year's no exception to that. But I love the way that they play. I love the style. They do what they do, and they do it really, really well. They present it a lot of different ways offensively, but at the end of the day, there's certain plays that they run, and that's kind of their identity. And that's what they rely on. They just do a great job of it, and got a ton of respect for Coach Calhoun and that staff up there. And they play hard. They're a tough football team and well coached, good personnel, and they know how to win.
How do you like your team, the way you look coming in mid-season now, getting this first Service Academy game?
Yeah, well, there's some good and some things certainly we need to improve on. I think coming out of this last game, it was great to get a win. It wasn't a super clean win. There's certain things offensively you'd like to be a little further along than we felt like we were coming out of that game. But still a ton of room, Scott, for improvement. I keep saying that we're really close, and I believe that we are. Talked about not getting in our own way, especially in the offense side of football, some self-inflicted wounds that really get you behind the sticks and that are drive killers. And we had some of that obviously on Saturday, and so we have to get that cleaned up going into this game, because obviously we got to be great on first down and can't afford to get behind the sticks and can't afford to get off track against these guys.
Also a game that Roger Staubach and Paul Johnson are going to be honored. What does it mean for you to kind of walk in their footsteps at the Naval Academy? What you think of when you think of Roger Staubach and Paul Johnson?
Yeah, obviously a phenomenal player who I looked up to as a kid. And then Paul Johnson's, one of the best in the business at what he did. And he's the option guru. And I got a chance to meet him and spend a little bit of time with him when I was at Kennesaw and he was at Georgia Tech. And so, very familiar with him and what he's done. And what a great weekend to honor those two guys that are really Navy legends.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck.
Thanks, Scott.
Hey, Brian, I'm just as in the quarterback's room this week. I know it's still early, just obviously some things in flux there. I know you have a few days of practice before you get to Saturday, but any idea what that position might look like come Saturday?
Yeah, I'm gonna don't feel comfortable talking about what that's going to look like on Saturday. I'm glad to talk to you about the performance this past Saturday and what I saw and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's as much as I want to say about the quarterback situation, Gino.
Fair enough. You mentioned Roger Staubach. How familiar are the players with Roger? I imagine it must be very, given how much he's meant to the program, and especially at the quarterback position, the most decorated player in Service Academy history. Just do you have to kind of reinforce that to some of the quarterbacks, like you're playing in front of royalty at the Naval Academy?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think these guys were too young to actually see him play. They might have seen some highlights from back in the day, but everybody in our program here knows exactly who he is and what he did as a player and what he's done since then. And no, it's awesome that he's getting honored this week and he's coming back. And I think, but our players are well aware of who he is and what he means to this place for sure.
And for the seniors, a final crack at winning one of the two biggest games on your schedule, what's the importance of that, setting them out the right way for the first win over Air Force?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge game for us. The first leg of the CIC, that's our number one goal going this season. We want to win that game, and I can't think of a better way to send our seniors out. And they haven't had a taste of victory against these guys, and it'd be great to have it as a senior for sure.
And just coming off the last game in general, how encouraged are you heading into Saturday? Obviously, going in with a win is, better than the alternative.
Yeah, I'm encouraged. The thing that we keep talking about is we just got to find a way to win. And, it didn't look like what we wanted to look like exactly. But I think it says a lot about our team and the character of this team that found a way to get two in a row and go on a road and play a really, I think, talented Charlotte team at their place on homecoming and all that, and find a way to win, I thought was really big. And I think it gives some confidence to our players. And I think there's confidence also in knowing that we could have played significantly better than we did Saturday. And so it's big. It's big for our momentum, and it helps going into this game for sure.
It's defensively, how do you feel about the unit that's headed into Air Force? Obviously, it's always a grinded out game against those guys.
Yeah, I feel good coming off of. I thought we played really well Saturday. It was a physical game. We came out relatively healthy, which I was concerned about because you want to be healthy going into this game because it's going to be a very physical football game. But I was really pleased with the progress that we made in certain areas. I thought we defended the run really well. Didn't tackle great in the first half, but cleaned that up in the second half. And I thought, on the back end, we played really well on Saturday. So I'm encouraged about where we're at defensively. And at the same time, there's a lot of room for improvement, on that side of the ball as well. But we're playing hard, we're flying around, and we're getting better week to week.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Wags.
Hey, Coach. So I mean, I don't expect you to tell me who's going to be the quarterback, but can I just ask some basic questions? Like, is Ty Lavatai in the mix? Does it appear he'll be healthy enough to be in the mix?
Yeah, I hope so. He's definitely in the mix, and plan on practicing this week, as far as I know right now. And so, if that's the case, he'll certainly be in the mix.
And apparently that was an injury that occurred. Did that occur in the North Texas game? Because it didn't seem like he got hit all that hard on the sack.
Yeah, I think from what I understand, it did happen against North Texas, but really didn't start bothering him a whole lot until maybe midweek. And we did some things to help him, and he was able to manage it during the week, and then got in the game and couldn't. So we'll try to help him with that this week. I know Dr. Berry's going to do a good job of getting him ready to play, and just have to take it day by day with him.
So obviously, I mean, for Braxton, he even alluded after the game when we talked to him. He said first game jitters for sure, and there was some option mechanic stuff that he obviously needs to improve, like getting downhill on when he runs the perimeter option, etc. But I mean, do you feel like this is having that game experience? I mean, I think you might have said you got to get your feet wet at some point. At some point, you got to go face live bullets. How much do you think that experience is going to help Braxton going forward?
I think it's invaluable. I think, but I mean, you're exactly right. It was some mechanical things. Obviously, there were some nerves there, and saw him make some really nice plays. I think you got a glimpse of what Braxton Woodson can be. And hopefully that game gets the nerves out a little bit. Obviously, this is going to be a big stage if he's playing. But there's some things that he did on Saturday that, the same plays we run in practice, and he's hitting those receivers in stride, those kind of things, which I think will get better the more that he plays. And I think he's really talented, and I think obviously the more he plays, the better he's going to get, and the more those nerves are going to calm down. And so I was excited about a lot of things he did. Obviously, there's some mistakes there, and I think a lot of that had to do with nerves and being the first game that he's really played in. Outside of a few cleanup snaps, in the Wagner game, but I expect to see tremendous improvement, week to week with Braxton.
So obviously, with Blake going down, last week was the first week that Xavier Arline was back at quarterback, and obviously he was getting the third team reps. But with the current situation, do you have to rep him a little bit more and practice this week just so he's ready in case he's needed? Yeah,
absolutely. We'll rep X at slot and quarterback this week. He'll get more reps at quarterback than he did the previous week. But yeah, for sure.
So with regard to the Air Force offense has obviously been somewhat of a juggernaut so far this season. I think they lead the nation in 7 offensive categories. Can you talk about the challenge of trying to contain that outfit?
Yeah, it's always a huge challenge. I think like I said, they're really, really good at what they do. They've always got a few wrinkles for us. And they're simple, but their presentation is a little complex and chaotic at times. And so you got to be great with your eyes. You got to be great getting lined up, great communicating. They do what they do really well, and they're a physical football team. I think they're really, really good up front. I think they're really well coached, excellent skill players. And I think they're, outside Notre Dame, that may be the best team we see all year.
So traditionally, this has been a game in which it's tough to move the ball and low scoring. But based off what Air Force has shown so far, you might have to match them with points. So do you feel like this is absolutely crucial for the offense to take a giant step forward this week?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a really physical football game. We're going to have to win that part of it. And I think it's going to come down to X plays. We need to have more than they do in a game like this. And it's a game where you can, you saw last year's game, you can stop the run, and then you get your eyes in the wrong place, and they'll nail you with play action pass. And so we can't give up the big plays. And I think, first and 10 is going to be extremely important in this game, for us offensively to be on track and defensively to get them off track. And that's going to be a really critical part of the game is the X play piece, first downs, and we got to win the takeaway battle this week.
So obviously, I mean, it's been a very, close series for the most part, but they've won 3 in a row here. How important is it to kind of change that? I think, we were talking about Paul Johnson. One of the things he came in and did for Navy is turned this series around. Navy had been losing to Air Force, and he turned that around. They never lost to Air Force after the first year he was there. How important this is a statement for the program?
Oh, it's critical. It's critical. Like I said, that's our number one goal every year. And this is a huge game for us. And obviously the first leg of the CIC. And we lost 3 straight years, and 2 of them were blowout losses. And then when I got here in 19, it was a really good game, came right down to the end. So it's going to be a dogfight, and we're going to have to play really, really well to give ourselves an opportunity to win this game.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. Oh, look at you.
I was muted. One more trip around. Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, each week we seem to talk about him, but each week he seems to outdo himself. Riley, 11 punts over 500 yards. Have you ever coached a team that's had a punter like that in a game where you guys have won?
No, probably not. I think Riley's been he's been a rock star all year. I mean, you look at what we've been able to do with our punt team, flipping the field on a consistent basis all year. It's just his ball placement, being able to get the ball down inside the 20. I don't know how many we've had inside the 20, but it's been a lot. And I get 4 or 5 on Saturday, and should have had one that got down on the one that kind of slipped between Ray Lane's legs that you saw. But he's been phenomenal, and the whole punt unit has. From a coverage standpoint, from a protection standpoint, and getting the ball off. He's got a big leg, and he's playing really, really well right now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Dean.
I'm good. Got all I need. Thank you.
Wags.
Well, maybe kind of expounding on Riley a little bit. I mean, what do you think it is? That it just big leg, or is it technique? I mean, it seems like he must work at his craft, because he's there was one particular punt where it was quite obvious that he was trying to go coffin corner, and it's almost like the Ravens punter who got so good at getting balls to check up, if you will, almost like a golf shot, chipping wedge or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it starts with the protection. I think he feels safe back there. I think the snaps have been really good, and I think he's gotten better. I think he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. I think Coach Brown has done a great job with him. We knew he had a big leg. He had a big leg last year, and punted the ball really well. He's been way more consistent this year than he was a year ago, and I think that's just a credit to him getting better and having that confidence, and not just confidence in himself, but confidence in the unit and the protection, which has been really good.
So how critical in a game like that last week? I mean, he kept pinning Charlotte back. Part of the reason they weren't able to, they were struggling to move the ball, but when you have to go 70, 80 yards or more, it makes it even tough.
Yeah, no question. Obviously, the further you have to go, the less likely you are to score a touchdown, right? So yeah, it's huge. And I mean, he doesn't just do a good job when we get the ball to 50 and we're punting and trying to pooch it down there. He does a great job. We're backed up, flipping the field, and so it's critical. And and that's been a huge bright spot for us this season.
And you figure in a game like this coming up here, Air Force, similar deal, punting could be critical.
Yeah, field position in a game like this is everything. It's everything. So yeah, absolutely critical.
So I think Strauss had a stat about how many touchdowns Navy has scored, or in what lesson? What is that stat, Strauss? I don't have.
Navy has scored 6 touchdowns in under a minute. It's the second most in the country. 6 scoring drives, I should say. Say it better. 6 scoring drives under a minute, which is the second best in the country.
Can you talk about that quick strike ability, Coach?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I think we operated well in a couple of 1 minute scenarios, but I think it kind of shows some of the quick strike capability, of our offense, and got some explosive players. And I'd rather have 6 touchdown drives of 8 minutes of possession time than the 1 minute hitters. But I'll take them, and we need them. And you saw that on Saturday when we struggled a little bit, but found a way to hit a couple of big plays. And when you are struggling, you have to get some of those big chunk plays, and it was good to see. And but yeah, it's interesting number.
So I'm going to talk to him when we get him on Wednesday, but PJ's calling from the field, which is unique. Most coordinators want to be up in the box. Can you kind of talk about that? Did you and he talk about that? You operated from up in the box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, PJ's been down the field for a long, long time. I think when you're down the field, you get used to seeing things. Your vision kind of develops down there. There's certain benefits of being in the box. You can see a little bit better. You see formations start to take place. You may have a split second longer to make a call based on some things that you see, but he sees things really well from the field. And I think part of that, for that reason, he's down there. And I think partly because he wants to be able to communicate with his players, and it's easier for him and I to communicate when he's on the field as well. And that piece has been really good. But yeah, I think it's where he's the most comfortable, and I think what best suits us right now, where we're at. I think he's doing a really good job down the field.
So is there, you have someone up in the box that he's relying on to be his eyes up top?
Yep, sure do. We always split our staff up and make sure we got eyes on the front 7 and the back end to help with things. Brent Wembley's up there in the box. He's in PJ's room, helping with the linebackers, and so he's done a great job being having a bird's eye view for Coach Walker from up there.
So the dead ball penalties, I mean, it's maddening, and more of them again against Charlotte. I mean, I'm sure you pounded into the ground in practice, but what has to be done to fix this issue? Yeah,
it's a great question. I think there's a couple of things that are causing it, and I think one thing in particular is we've played 3 different quarterbacks, and that certainly hasn't helped. There's slight variations in the way that they present their cadence, things like that, and so we got to get that cleaned up. We've addressed it. We're doing some things this week to help those guys, and I think part of it too is a little bit of nervousness that we got to get calmed down somehow or another. It's one of those things it's hard to coach. Don't jump off sides, right? You got to go on the cadence, and obviously we got to do a much better job of it. But and we got to work with Brent, about what's going on there, and make sure we get that squared away. But yeah, it can't happen. I think we had 4 procedural penalties and then two muff snaps when we were in the gun. And those are 6 plays that get you off track, and they're completely self-inflicted, and they're drive killers, especially when you're struggling to begin with. On a day like Saturday, it's just, they can't happen, and we've got to get it cleaned up.
Well, I was going to ask about that. The centers had 2, I don't even know what the referee calls it, but basically illegal snap or whatever. What exactly is happening there? I'm not quite sure I understand. What is he doing? Is he moving the ball before snapping? Yeah,
snapping a little bit too early. I'm anticipating the cadence a little bit. I might have been a little confused from the chatter that's going on up front. In the previous week, I think a referee said something that kind of sounded like a what our cadence sounds like and snap the ball there. So we just got to work on it in practice and before practice and a little bit after practice and make sure that it doesn't happen moving forward.
So Air Force's quarterback got injured at the end of the Wyoming game. Does it matter to you if they have to go with the backup? Does that change things? Their quarterback has been an instrumental part of their offense, both throwing and running.
Yeah, and it doesn't change anything for us in the way we prepare and in our game plan. He's a really good player. There's no question about that. And quarterback that went in for him is a really good player as well. And so it doesn't change anything for us at all. And I think if he wasn't playing, we're not going to know till the first offensive series on Saturday anyway. So it won't change anything for us.
So it's not your first Service Academy game, but it is as a head coach. A, how do you approach that? And then B, for all of the kids that are the players who have not been part of this, Saturday's going to be quite the atmosphere of, sellout crowd and all of these things going on with Paul Johnson, Roger Staubach being honored. It's a real, going to be a festive atmosphere. What's kind of your message to the guys about this?
Yeah, this game is obviously very important to us and to our players, but it's the next game, and we don't really have to approach it any differently. I think the thing that happens in these games is there's a tendency to get over emotional, and your ability to control that emotion and channel into your focus, and to be able to enjoy the process and the game day and all that comes along with that, but not to let that noise affect the way that you play. So it's all about, we talk to our guys about breathe, focus, explode. And so that's the mentality that we've got to go into this game with. We can't let the crowd or the pomp of circumstance be a distraction for us, obviously. And so controlling our emotions and channeling that energy from the crowd or emotions into really just laser focus on doing our job.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Bill.
Just a couple notes back to the Reithman. He's got 11 punts down inside the 20 and 10 punts of 50 yards or more this year. And then just a reminder, Volker this week is on Thursday. Will Harbor and Volker is on Thursday because we have CBS on Wednesday. We'll finish it up with Pete Medhurst.
I believe that's a new Zoom record, 7 questions from Wags right there. Brian, you're obviously a keen observer of football. It's not just this year, but as you've played against Air Force, what makes them as consistently good as they've gotten here? They're really percolating at a very, very high level right now.
Well, I think Coach Calhoun's been there for a long time. They haven't had a lot of turnover on their staff. I think they're really, really well coached football team. I think they recruit well to what they want to do. Personnel is good across the board on both sides of the football. And they do what they do, and they do it really, really well. They know exactly who they are, and they build their game plan around that. And they do a great job of presenting it different ways, just enough to keep you off balance. And I think one thing they do a really good job of is their in-game adjustments, and attacking what you give them. And I can't really say enough good things about the staff and how well they're coached and their talent on their roster is really good. And they're a physical team. They play hard, and they don't make a whole lot of mistakes.
I apologize if this was asked earlier, but I've been moving down to the field on Saturday. What value did you see that bring to obviously helping Braxton through that second half of football there?
Yeah, we brought him down so we could have direct communication instead of getting on a headset in between series. He could have some extended dialogue with Braxton, help calm his nerves a little bit, be able to look him in the eye and talk him through some things. I thought it was a good move, and not sure what we'll do this week moving forward, but it felt like the right decision, at the time on Saturday.
Obviously, in the time you've been here, is this as much team speed? We were talking about the quick scoring drives earlier, but is in terms of the depth of team speed offensively with your skilled guys, is this as deep a team in terms of actual speed and different guys that can bring you those explosive plays like they have this year?
Yeah, since I've been here, no question. No question. We got more guys that are over 20 miles an hour on the catapult. We've got some explosive players, at every position, T-back, slot back. We got some guys that can go, and yeah, for sure.
I thought Will's game was incredibly efficient with the way you all rotate linebackers in there. I mean, he's not out there every single defensive snap, but I thought the game that he played for you, considering the type of game this was, do you all have a way to measure like efficiency level based on how many plays guys are playing, and obviously, grading out and doing the things that you're asking them to do, first of all, too?
Sure. We grade everybody. We have a production chart, and Will was really productive in this game. And I'll tell you what, man, he's a tough dude, and he's been banged up all year. And but he goes out, and you'd never know it when he gets on the field. He's a tough dude. He just keeps coming, and he's a really smart football player too. And he's one of those guys that prepares well during the week, watches a ton of film, and it pays off for him on Saturdays.
Can you place a value on having the amount of bodies you have to rotate in right now? And I know it's more than just this week because of the opponent you're playing and obviously the emphasis on the run that there'll be, but certainly in that front seven, when you have that many bodies that you can rotate, even with a couple of the injuries that you've had, can you really place a value on that type of depth that you've had to use already this year?
Yeah, no, you can't. And it's as much depth up front as we've had since I've been here, and it's in these types of games, these really physical football games, it's critical that you have that depth and you're able to keep guys fresh in there and be able to rotate them. It's really important.